This is me, and this is me with some other person. Sometimes that other person is a classmate back in elementary school asking me, "Why are you leaving school early to see a doctor?" Or an adult saying, "You should eat more." Oh yeah, I have this problem with gaining weight. Most of the time, the response is, "Man, I wish I had your problem." Are you really sure you want my problem? To explain it all, I need some context, and because of something called infantile amnesia, it comes from my parents' perspective. During my early years, I faced a series of health challenges that significantly impacted my well-being. I vomited excessively, got sick often, and skipped crawling. Concerned, my parents took me to see a doctor, but unfortunately, the initial doctor was incompetent, offering misguided advice like, his elbows need to be washed with more soap. My parents sought a more capable doctor who diagnosed me with gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, and hypotonia. GERD occurs when the sphincter muscle is relaxed and allows stomach acid to retreat up the esophagus frequently. Hypotonia is a condition where one has decreased muscle tone and is often identified by delayed motor development, muscle weakness, and limpness. That's also how I dislocated my elbow while washing my hands when I was 2. It turns out GERD and hypotonia are a deadly combination, just like opium and crack, or Batman and Super Monkey. Individually, they're pretty deadly. Together, you go, oh. Hypotonia not only made chewing incredibly exhausting for me, but also increased the relaxation of my sphincter muscle, exacerbating my GERD symptoms after every single bite I took. This deadly combination presented significant obstacles to my overall well-being and required diligent management and treatment. I've relived my first memory a few thousand times. It's always the same. The voices in your head gasp. You awaken suddenly, eyes flung open with the surge of awareness, even though mere moments ago, you were likely lost in a dream. But it doesn't matter now. Nothing else does. Urgently, you sprint down the corridor. The deluge of scorching acid erupts. You just sit there, frozen, breathless. It's over. I go to occupational therapy in the mornings, specifically for feeding and sensory motor. It's supposed to help me overcome my disability. It just feels like an elaborate excuse for more playtime, but I'm all for it. I'm exposed to new textures in both food and touch. I eat beef jerky, chips, and almost every possible junk food one can think of. I also play with materials such as sand, beans, and balloons. I like shaving cream the most. I have a toy snowplow which I repeatedly drive through the snow. My least favorite activity, which I still can't perform very well, is blowing a fan. After a couple of seconds, I get a headache, and my world blurs and spins around. In the end, it's always worth it. I get rewarded with riding my favorite tricycle. I like it because its wheels are spherical. Directions are restrictionless. Surprisingly, this combination of hypotonia and GERD has unexpected advantages. At a restaurant, I drink a spoonful of soup. Normally, soup is a great liquid for me to drink because it helps with sickness and is an easy way to get nutrients into my body. However, unbeknownst to me, the soup happened to have peanut oil, which wouldn't have been a problem, except I'm severely allergic to peanuts. Ingesting a peanut initiates a race against time, leaving me with 15 minutes before I suffocate. Fortunately, my usual eating hassles manifested, and I promptly regurgitated the soup. Instead of going into anaphylactic shock and having to take an EpiPen to the thigh, I only had to take Benadryl for 48 hours. Ultimately, the experience served as a stark reminder of my mortality. It forced me to confront the fragility of life and the potential dangers that lurk in seemingly innocent situations. In addition to learning to have to read nutrition labels, I also realized the importance of speaking up and asking others instead of relying on assumptions. During my time in elementary school, I carried a sense of feeling different in terms of my social lifestyle. While my peers lingered outside or diligently completed their homework, I grappled with dedicating 11 hours each day to sleep, solely to bolster my immune system. I was given unwanted attention, such as being moved to a nut-free table during lunch. There were only 3 of us, the special kids, who get an entire table to themselves. All the other tables were packed with kids. Additionally, I frequently missed classes due to medical appointments and illnesses that plagued me for weeks at a time. Furthermore, my physical limitations restricted me from numerous activities. Even clinging to monkey bars was a challenge for me until 4th grade. The most excruciating internal tensions revolved around eating. A memory stands out when I was eating dinner with classmates. By the time everyone else was finished, I had still 3/4 of it untouched. All eyes seemed to fixate on me with a touch of judgment in their expectant gazes. Yet, I didn't want to let good food go to waste. In the end, to avoid any additional hindrances, I discarded my plate. These encounters etched themselves into my identity, fueling my innate introversion and social deprivation. Responsibility is often associated with completing chores or being guilty of something. However, at age 10, I was faced with the formidable responsibility determining the course of the remaining chapters of my life. It was the 17th time I was excused from class early that year. I had started from the 98th percentile in weight in my infant years, and by the time elementary was coming to a close, I was down below the 5th percentile. Having crossed 4 standard deviations, I was recommended to a nutritionist at Rady Children's Hospital, which deals with more serious and specialized cases. Upon my first trip, my nutritionist claimed the situation was dire. Either I reached 2,400 calories a day, or I faced the repercussions: an underdeveloped brain, which could lead to impaired cognition and behaviorisms, and an increased risk for several disorders and illnesses. I was prescribed a protein shake with 720 calories, some cookie brands, and cooking strategies, and was instructed to calculate my daily calorie intake. As a result, my actions significantly changed. I had to learn the harsh meaning of the word responsibility at a young age, and thus be cautious about my actions. As I was unable to attend school regularly, keeping up with my studies was difficult. I had been raised to appreciate the importance of education, and thus made it my goal to make up for lost time and stay on top of my studies. To do so, I learned to self-study. I found materials online and in various textbooks to read. With this, I could explore topics that interested me, such as math proofs and shortcuts. As the years went by, my health improved and I was able to attend school more regularly. However, as a result of having self-studied for so long, I found the slow pace of the classroom frustrating. I had become accustomed to learning at my own pace, focusing on topics that challenged me while skipping those that I had mastered, maximizing my time. I found that I was often ahead of the material being covered in class. Instead of wasting time waiting for the rest of the class to catch up, I used the extra time to anticipate future content. Due to these habits, my studying during quarantine improved. While some students struggled during online school because of a lack of organization, self-discipline, and a routine that provided instantaneous feedback from the teacher, the learning from home felt familiar to me. I have been labeled with the term disabled, but I have come to realize these so-called limitations truly have been advantageous. I have harnessed unique opportunities that shaped my life. Through the initial struggles and health complications I faced, I garnered strengths and perspectives along the way, allowing me to become perseverant, independent, self-confident, and responsible.